We've crossed 108 hours.
100 hours done.
In about 10 minutes, I'll start working out. It's going to be a cardio session today, an HIIT session, which is high intensity interval training. It's going to be hard because it uses a lot of fat and it's a good thing to do. Pushes all the toxins away. My mind is clear and the body has a sustained release of energy. I don't feel weak. There are no spots of feeling confused or lost. I see that the sense of acceptance has increased. Accepting the world the way it is. Not trying to change it, but trying to change what I can change. Vitamin D is an important resource. We all need it. Vitamin D regulates a lot of other hormones, including the human growth hormone, which is really essential during the fast. It is what keeps our muscles alive and safe. Vitamin D also supports testosterone, which is again protective on all organs and the musculature. These two are especially required during the fast. Otherwise, muscle wastage happens a lot. A lot of studies have shown that a reduction in vitamin D leads to increase in all the symptoms which show depression. You don't want that during the fast. There are already enough stressors. There is no comfort coming from food. There's no comfort coming from eating with everyone. All the senses aren't activated the way they are when one is feeding. So you have to be very careful as to how you design your life when you're on a prolonged fast. It's best not to have a lifestyle that is taking you away from nature. I personally recommend walks barefoot, especially because the feeling of the ground, the warmth and the cold, the small rocks and the big ones, the grass underneath, all of that gives a lot of sensory input to the feet. And the feet are known to have a brain of their own.
Feeling much better today, feeling more energetic. Someone asked me this morning about how am I working out on day 5 of a fast, and I said that I actually am quite surprised by how well my body is doing. I give credit to the drink. I think that is sustaining a lot of energy in my body. The salt and minerals drink is something which is essential. However, I was feeling really repulsive towards it, and in order to bring some variety and a change and make it more attractive, I added a few things, flavors to it. Put some ginger in and then strained the ginger out. Also tried lemon juice and tried some tulsi. So we're trying to bring some flavors in, which will hopefully help. Now, is that really cheating? Well, one can have about 20 calories in a day and it still counts as a fast. So by adding this is not at all cheating. The other thing in terms of calories one must actually take is a multivitamin. And those have calories too, but they are essential because we've covered our salts, minerals, water, but we need the vitamins as well, and one must take that. Apart from that, if you need to take other pills, just make sure that those pills can be had on an empty stomach, or else if there are pills which you cannot have on an empty stomach and are essential, I would avoid fasting in those cases.
In my personal opinion, the highest kind of willpower is the will to not eat, because that is so primary to all organisms. Ever since we started, the sign of life came on Earth and we evolved from simpler organisms to more and more complex ones, eventually leading to this day and us. We've always been eating. However simple the organism is, it still has a mouth, some kind of a intake valve to take in food. Now, it's written in our instincts to find food and eat every day. And this is one of our primary directives: survive. The person here who is fasting is saying that I'm going to make a choice and not eat for a week. Now, this is a hard choice, and keeping this up takes a willpower that is stronger than the primary directive of survival. And the day that one becomes successful in that, the mind gets very strong. Prolonged fasting isn't meant to be done forever. You have to end it. But for long periods, prolonged fasting does make sense, and its benefits always outweigh the cons if done in the right way. The highest form of willpower is in your hands, the power to say no to your own instincts when they are necessary.
So since there are so many benefits to this, and we just got into details of one of the aspects, I think I'm going to try to join Krishna till the end. I'm going to try to push this fast for 7 days.
Almost 120 hours since the last meal. My last meal, just so you know, was 4 cheese pizza. That was my indulgence. Foods do come into my mind often as to what I will eat, what my plans are after breaking the fast. But there are thoughts of pleasures of eating. And I know that pleasure will come soon. But for now, there are other pleasures to be had. I did a long session of sunbathing today and that felt great. I felt very connected, composed and calm. All of this deprivation is a conscious choice. I'm fasting, of course, out of my own choice. And I have a deep sense of empathy towards those who starve and not fast out of circumstance. It's very hard to expect one to understand the state of body and mind that starvation or fasting brings without having done that. So at this state of mind and body, I can say that I empathize deeply with those who find it hard to procure food.
Hi, it's day 6 and I'm feeling much better than I expected. And I think that's thanks to the electrolytes that I have been having. Now, I just want to remind everybody that these electrolytes do not have sugar. So if you're going to have a packaged electrolyte, please make sure to check there's no amount of sugar in that. The idea is that we eliminate any kind of insulin spike in the body, and hence the body relies on fats as a source of energy. And when the body does that, this is called ketosis. So at the moment, I think my body is adapted to ketosis. What causes insulin spike? We have sugars, of course, carbohydrates, proteins, in that order, that actually cause a spike in the body. Fats barely have any kind of spikes, and that's what our body is also relying on as an energy resource at the moment. In terms of the past, I've been on a low-carb diet, and I have had insulin spikes in the body, and so that's why I've adapted lesser than how much Krishna has adapted, who has actually had a keto diet. And we'll talk more about that on another video, but that is really useful to get into the fast mode if you actually follow a keto diet. Apart from that, it's about 24 hours left for our fast, which is very exciting, which includes 8 hours of sleeping, which is great. We've been planning a lot about what we want to eat. I have been getting a lot of images of food.
I have to say, I feel pretty good. I have enough energy to carry on with the day. Even did a nice long yoga session in the morning under the sun, and that was amazing. I felt very light. It felt as though all of my worries have faded away. One negative part was that I didn't sleep so well last night. For about 6 hours, I lay awake in the bed, just tossing and turning. Didn't sleep at all. But that happens. That is expected in a fast, especially in the long one. It takes a while for the body to adapt, and even when it does, lack of food in the stomach is a stressful condition. So a little bit of discomfort is to be expected in such a thing. Another thing is about brushing. You see, the mouth gets stale quite often, quite easily also. Even though I'm not eating anything, it just gets stale very quick. Maybe it's because of that, or maybe it's because of all the salt that's being consumed, or maybe because of lack of action in the mouth, swallowing and new saliva being generated. None of that is happening here. So I feel the need to brush often, more often than I normally would. I brushed 4 times already today. I just want to make a small point here. The toothpaste that I'm using doesn't have sugar either. So it's good to make sure that no sugar gets into the system, no calories get into the system in any way possible. But even by the simple process of putting something in your mouth and tasting it, there is a bit of digestion that happens inside the mouth itself, and the saliva does that. The thing is, when we do that, signals are sent to the system as to what kind of food is about to come in, and digestive processes begin just by putting something inside the mouth.
Last day. Last night I dreamt of pizzas, although that's not how I'm gonna start breaking my fast. As we're going by houses, we can smell all the flavors and breakfast things being cooked. However, it feels good. It's day 7 and I thought I'll be lying on the bed, but I'm actually not doing that. I'm feeling pretty good. We've come out to cycle for about 15 kilometers, but not anything strenuous. Cycling with some ups and downs. It feels pretty good. I think again, that's thanks to the electrolytes that we've been having. All of the things actually, the water, the rest, and the salt, and minerals, and the vitamins, all of that is contributing to this. I'm very excited to break our fast. Have been looking at food, talking about food. The time has come.
So it's day 7 finally. I didn't sleep so well last night. I got 3 hours of sleep. It's not that I feel tired or something, but maybe it was my body's way of saying, get up and go get some food. So the next part that comes in is eating, and we're going to be doing that in about 4 or 5 hours. Can we slow down a little bit? We're going to be starting to eat in about 4 or 5 hours. What we eat, how we break a fast is very, very crucial. It's really important. There is something called refeeding syndrome, and what this is it's a dangerous medical condition. It's fatal actually if it goes overboard, where there's a huge shift of fluids and electrolytes in the body because of taking in the wrong things or in the wrong proportion. The next thing is to break the fast with the right kind of foods. So the first thing to include in the food that you're going to eat is fat, because your body is already accustomed to eating fat, already accustomed to metabolizing fat. My brain's working right now, and my eyes are, my hands are, which means that all of the cells over there are using fat to survive right now. So introducing exogenous fat from outside and slowly allowing the digestive system to process it, and the cells getting the same fuel that they got for all of these 7 days, that's the way to go. So first thing is fat, and the next thing is protein. So you do need protein, and a lot of it over the next 4 or 5 days, not in one serving, to support your system and rebuild everything that has to be rebuilt. Your body has gone through quite a bit of stress, and there is a lot of work to do. So new material is coming in. You better have some protein to support all the construction and repair work that's going to happen inside the body. And third is fiber. A little bit of fiber, not too much to overwhelm your digestive system. Just a little bit, so that there is some bulk that forms and movement inside the digestive system, which is going to happen after 7 days of no movement at all, a little bit more easier. So to make this movement easier, fiber help, but priority is this, and in this order. All the while still consuming your electrolyte. Electrolyte consumption does not stop for the next 3 or 4 days. You can slowly taper it down, and your body will start to absorb electrolytes from the food itself. I would not recommend consuming any kind of carbohydrates or sweets, even fruits for that matter, because they are fructose. I would not recommend consuming any of that for the first 2 or maybe even 3 days after breaking the fast. If you want to get back to a carbohydrate-based diet, a sugar-based diet, maybe that's all right. You can still do that. You're entitled to it, but only after, say, 3 days after breaking your fast. It makes it safe, and that helps you transition to a better digestive system. Right, we're making our breakfast after 7 days of not eating. So what I'm making is soupy eggs, and Kamakshi is making
Sauteed paneer. It's happening. It's finally happening. Very excited. Low on energy, but trying to make a good meal.
yeah, some ghee is gonna go in. It's only this much. To the rescue!
Cheese! Let's look at this beautiful ghee. As I'm cooking this, I'm just thinking of how much I missed food. Now that I know I'm gonna have it, there are just a lot of feelings and emotions that are coming up. It's this very thing that we've been waiting for, and when it's finally happening, it feels very strange. It's hard work for sure. It feels good to get to this point where we're just gonna get this food. The smell that we're smelling is of our food. Yeah, the cat in the house.
As I'm making this breakfast of our soupy eggs with cream and gelatin, there's this feeling of a huge relief. It's a welcome relief. It's nice to smell the food, and it's nice to know that I'm going to be eating soon. There have been a lot of learnings from this experience so far. Hunger is a great teacher, and I've learned a lot from it. My relationship to the food that I eat has changed dramatically over the fast that I've done so far. And I couldn't have done it without the support of my family, who have always been okay with all these eccentric behaviors and experiments.
I'd second that.
And Kamakshi, of course, because she's been with me through this whole journey, and it's been a hard journey. It's a lot of mental fortitude, courage, and consistent strength to achieve this kind of thing. And temptations are plenty. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For now, that's 12 eggs floating in a soup getting slowly cooked. A soup of cream, onions, and ghee. While simultaneously we have this going on. Ooh. It's time to eat.
It's not like I'm going crazy seeing food. Very patient. I'm actually very contemplative for some reason. This has been consistently tough for the past 7 days.
It's a great sense of accomplishment. Well, bon appetit.
Good. Cheers. Woo! We had our blood test taken this morning before we ended our fast, and we'll find out the results on how our glucose levels were. What did our body do? I think that's going to give us a lot of idea of how the body feels after a 7-day fast.
So as part of refeeding, one thing to remember is we need to eat slow and in small quantities. What happens in a prolonged fast is that when there's no food intake, every organ in the digestive system, the stomach for example, and the liver, they all shrink their size. So the stomach's smallest size, if you can imagine the stomach like a balloon. As you start eating, it inflates itself. So a balloon has a maximum volume and a minimum volume. In its resting state, if you just hang the balloon like this, it still occupies some space. That is its minimum volume, and maximum is when you inflate it. So the stomach's minimum volume, apparently it's 40 milliliters.
That's pretty small.
And it can expand to 2400 ml, which is 2.4 liters. So it can stretch, just like a balloon, it can stretch to occupy all the things that we eat. So when we are eating periodically, regularly, morning till evening, through the week and through the months and through the years, 3 meals, 4 meals, 5 meals a day, it's always stretched. It never gets an opportunity to shrink. So it takes a while for you to stretch the stomach and get back to its standard size. Maybe its standard size differs from person to person, of course, but I would say around a liter or 800 ml is the standard size. So till that happens, you cannot push things down the throat, and it's not a good practice to do so either. So relish each bite and have a small meal, wait for a while, see how you feel, and then maybe an hour or two later have another one. You deserve it. But once you do a 7-day fast, you can't repeat another 7-day fast till 1 month after the previous one. You may do a 24 or a 48 if you want, but I would refrain from doing any kind of fasting other than intermittent, of course, for the next 1 week. And that's what we will do. We're not going to do any more fasting, are we?
We finally got our blood reports. Turns out everything is in the normal range.
Now, although a fundamental requirement for life was consciously taken away for the past 1 week, life still went on. Nothing stopped. Work carried on. I slept, woke up, did my workouts, did everything what I was supposed to. But then the priorities change. The focus was at least on food for a while, but then a small voice kept saying inside my head that, okay, focus on something else. Don't be thinking about food all the time. So I had to focus on other things. So if food is not on the table, one thinks of getting food on the table, and that is through a hunt, maybe, if we're in the wild. But for the modern human being, the hunt is work. So focus went on work. And on that note, I got done a lot of things over the past week. A lot of things, a lot of thought process, and a lot of planning and strategizing, a lot of housework, a lot of physical labor, a lot of mental work, and a lot of repair too. So on that note, the fast was very successful. There were ups and downs, but that's the story of life. I feel that I developed a higher level of patience and perseverance. Now, again, I would credit this to the fast. And that's because one has to be patient for 7 days, because you know you don't want to break the fast. I knew I didn't want to. And I knew that I had to wait for 7 days for the food to come. Now, this takes a bit of character, building patience and building character to stay with the conditions that you have and yet keep going till the gratification comes at a later state.
Food and mood seem to be totally related. Even on a normal day, if we're really hungry and there isn't food easily accessible, then one does get some kind of emotions around that. Imagine on a 7-day fast, you know that food is not going to come. The reward circuits have become tuned to getting food and getting that dopamine. So knowing that you're not going to get that food for 7 days was hard. One had to find a source of that happiness and dopamine effect. And it's not like there is no other reward circuit mechanism, or it's not like there isn't anything else that gives us that pleasure. There's so many other things which can make us happy, but you have to consciously try to incorporate those, because you are choosing to consciously detach from food. So one of those things actually helped is to have that strong willpower and push through, get happiness through other sources.
And this willpower spills over to other areas of life. The will to be calm and patient, the will to be compassionate and understand another person's place. So all of this has helped me a lot, hopefully made me into a better person. I hope to carry all of this forward and not just be a better person during a fasting period, but after the fasting period too. During the fast, Kamakshi and I, we spoke a lot about all the things that we wanted to eat. We listed out menus, even we made plans for the next week as to on what day, what kind of meal we will cheat with, what kind of junk food we will have, or what kind of excess consumption we will go through. But then once we started eating, it all turned out to be such a lackluster experience. I'm not saying that eating is bland, the activity is bland, not at all, I love it. But then there's a lot to be said about psychological hunger and the actual physical hunger. A lot of our hunger is in our mind, and a lot of our desires start from the mind, and our minds can deceive us. And for this, we need to step outside of this whole being drowned inside the desires and reward circuitry. I think the fast helped me a lot in learning a new relationship between me and food. Food as a nutritive fuel instead of a reactive mechanism. And lastly, the fast was also a very grounding experience. It took me back to basics of sort. Taught me that life can still go on without luxuries, without fancy things. At its most basic level, life is quite simple. Other problems seem to fade away and priorities change a lot. The Roman Stoics used to use this as a yearly cleanse of the mind through the deprivation of luxury. So what they used to do was they used to shed their luxurious fancy clothing and wear very drab basic clothing, and they used to let go of their footwear. They used to sleep on the floor and not have any kind of meal whatsoever for a period of 1 or 2 weeks at a stretch. And this would help them become better thinkers because it would give them a clean slate to start with. I think I felt something similar to this, and I'm able to handle my own problems in a better light. So in conclusion, here are a few things to remember. If you wish to try a 7-day fast yourself, please do so in consultation with your healthcare provider.
Also, go slow. Remember to start with maybe 16 to 8 hour windows and then progressively move on to 24 hours, then 48, and maybe 3-day, and then move on to a 7-day fast.
Make sure you take adequate precautions and prepare yourself for several months before the fast. And also consume adequate amounts of water every day, and make sure you get your electrolytes right, because those are fundamentals and those are crucial for the success of your fast. Otherwise, you may end up in a very bad place.
And rest well, take care of the temptations, stay away from them.
Make sure to also abstain from any form of intoxicants during the fast for sure, but also 1 week before the fast and 1 week after the fast. Finally, have a light-hearted approach to things. Take everything in an easy way, and worst comes to worst, there'll always be a next time. Listen to your body and take it easy. We'd like to end our video with a quote from Lao Tzu. To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, subtract things every day.
Thank you for watching our channel, Somarasa.